Good afternoon to those who listen. January 10th, 2025, 4:51 p.m. And this is Hurting Humanity. And I was talking about the same thing he was talking about yesterday and the day before when these fires broke out, because they just seemed too weird, too strange. You know, it looks a lot like Maui, don't it? But the thing he pointed out, which I have not heard really anybody talking about, which makes me wonder, how come nobody notices this? You have these houses burned completely to the ground. You have cars, the tires are completely gone. The windshield and the glass windows, all burnt, gone. It takes 3,000 degrees to melt glass. And if I'm wrong on that, please correct me, but that's what I've learned in the past, 3,000 degrees. Now, how come nobody is asking this question? All these houses, buildings, cars, nothing left. But how do the trees survive? I mean, not all the trees survived, but a great majority of the trees are still standing, untouched by this 3,000 degree fires. So that's my question to everybody, and my question to anybody that's researching this: why are all the trees still there?
Here, the reality is directed energy weapons.
I'm just gonna God. Just going to let it play in the background a little bit while we talk. There's a lot of strange coincidences that have been happening. But meanwhile, somehow, the trees are surviving. And I mean, some trees are left totally, completely untouched. And this has been happening for years. Maui, the Paradise fires, all these fires that have been happening over the last 7-8 years, most of them California, same thing. Somehow it's so hot that it melts cars down to their steel frames and totally destroys houses. But somehow the trees survive. Can anyone answer that question? I've been asking this question for at least, almost 7 years. Well, yeah, it was 2000, I think it was at the beginning of 2018. 7 years. There's also some theories out there that, because a lot of rumors going around that the houses were burning from the inside out. And these smart meters are everywhere. Don't know if that's it either, but just throwing stuff out there. We've seen it before. So I'm just going to I haven't even watched this yet. What the heck? But I thought I would just I already, from the very start, he was talking about the same thing, the trees. And I'm like, why isn't anybody talking about the trees? How are the trees surviving? This is what I would like to see. Actually, the houses. But of course, they're going to burn completely down, so I'm sure the smart meters will be completely burned to a crisp too. So the evidence of that will be gone for sure. I don't know, it's just too many weird coincidences over this stuff. They had all this reservoir water, and then somehow it was completely dry when the fire started. And then, the fire hydrants were dry. There wasn't hardly any water. There wasn't enough firefighters. People lost their insurance right before this happened. All these crazy coincidences. The governor, vetoed a bill to get more firefighters for this very reason, in case something like this happened. Oh, no, we vetoed it. Oh, we don't need the people. And then now there's suddenly a shortage of firefighters. They don't have enough firefighters. They don't have enough water. You know what they did with the water? All that extra water that they had in the reservoirs? And we're talking, I think there was 7 reservoirs, and all of them were over 100% except for one. It was at 98%. You know what they did with the water? They put it in the Pacific Ocean. Who in the world is that stupid? Nobody is that stupid. Nobody. So the only conclusion you can come to is it was deliberate on purpose. How else can you see it? I can't see it any other way. No matter how these fires started, does not matter. They had the opportunity to prevent, all this brush, this dry brush, all these dead trees that the forest deforesting, where they come in and they get rid of all the dry brush and they get all the dead trees out of there. The president-elect was talking about that, and he said other countries, after there's a fire, they get rid of all the dry brush so that if there is another fire, it's way less of a problem and they can contain it a lot easier. But they just left all this dry brush. It's like, there's everything is all dried up. The brush is all dried up. Where should we put these gas cans? I'll put it right next to the dry brush. It's like they're doing the exact opposite of what you should be doing to prevent this. And instead, they leave all that dry brush so they have lots of kindling to, make these fires just expand and spread. It's unbelievable. I don't know. I'm not going to. I've already talked about this a little bit in the last one. But why are the trees still standing? House is completely gone. Car is completely gone. Trees untouched. Not even partially burned. What is going on? So he was talking more about the smart meters, and he thinks this is hurting humanity. He thinks that, smart meters were the cause of this. We might never know the real cause, but again, that really doesn't matter because they've had so many chances. It's not like this was the first time there's been fires in California. So, the governor, he keeps saying every year, we weren't prepared for this one. We'll make sure we're prepared for the next one so we can prevent it from happening. And then it happens again. And then they say, don't worry, we're going to make sure that this doesn't happen again. How many times are you going to say, we're not going to let it happen again, and then it happens again? LA is supposed to be a smart city for the Olympics coming up in 2028. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. I don't know. It's just so much gross negligence in this situation. It's unbelievable. How does this happen? How? They knew ahead of time. I knew like at least 4 days before that there was this front coming in and there was going to be high winds. And did they prepare? Here's another question for you too. We've seen so many times in the past where they know that the humidity is low and the it's all dry and fire season and all this stuff could happen. So they said whenever it gets high winds and stuff, they shut the power off so the power lines can't spark fires. They didn't do it this time. Any other time they would have shut the power off to make sure that these power lines couldn't spread fires, spark off and cause more fires. What is going on? Come on, it does not take a rocket scientist to figure this out. It's common sense. Hopefully you guys have seen the videos about the reservoirs. Where did all that water go? One reservoir had 117 million gallons of water. And then, oh, it's empty. It's empty. How is it empty? They put it out into the ocean. Really? And then another question is, can't they use the ocean water to put these fires out? I don't know if you can or not. I'm just as this question. I know it's salt water. I don't know if that makes a difference or not. But, I mean, look, they got the Pacific Ocean to use. It's just, ugh. It makes me so mad because it's like, you know, so many people. You know, we have at least 10 people that didn't make it. And then we got, I think they said 10,000 buildings were burned down. So a lot of people lost their homes. They lost everything. This could have been prevented. It's just, I don't understand how Newsom is still there. He should have been arrested. He should be in prison. Attempted murder and destruction of property. All this could have been prevented. And the president-elect has talked to him way back in 2019. Get rid of all that dry brush. Get rid of all the dead trees. And again, last June, he talked to him again. Get rid of all this dry brush. You don't want another fire coming. Oh, I'm Newsom. I don't know what I'm doing. 7 years. He had $7 billion over 7 years to use that money for the fire departments, for the water, preventing fires from happening. Guess how much he spent on it? Zero. So I'm sorry if anybody says, oh, well, this is just climate change. Nope. Come on. Really? It's not climate change. Oh, it was a bunch of arsonists. It was a bunch of illegal migrants going in and starting these fires. Even if it was, they still could have prevented it or at least lessened it. But they didn't. And now they said the emergency systems are all out. And now the people, they can't give the information to the people that need to evacuate. So the people in areas that need to evacuate, they're not getting those messages out. And then they're also giving out false messages saying that people need to evacuate when they don't need to. Oh, it's all just a weird coincidence, huh? Just some weird coincidence that all this stuff seemed to just all happen all at the same time. Come on. Thanks for watching. God bless.